Get ready, fight fans, because the Octagon is about to heat up. UFC Fight Night Jan versus Dvalishvilli is just around the corner, and the anticipation is electric. Two of UFC's top 5 bantamweights are about to battle it out in a clash for the ages. Will Petr Yan's ferocious striking be enough to overcome Merab's relentless wrestling? There's only one way to find out. Stay tuned for my fight predictions and thoughts on the fight. And if you want to stay up to date with my fight predictions and other content on my channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And thanks for watching, guys. All right, good morning, everybody. Going to do the fight predictions for UFC Fight Night Jan versus Dvalishvilli on March 11th, 2023, 3 o'clock p.m. Eastern. It is an early card. It's always nice when the cards start early. Then you kind of still have the rest of your night to do whatever. So make sure you guys stay tuned for the end of the video. I'll give my fight of the night prediction as always. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about these fights. There are some sleeper fights on this card. A lot of guys that I'm not like very familiar with, but I've watched some of their fights. So I made my fight predictions and I'm going to share them with you guys here. So let's get into it. So first fight of the night will be Sedriques Dumas versus Josh Fremd. So Josh Fremd has had a couple fights in the UFC already. I believe he has 2 losses. He's very long. He's like 6'4". Sedriques Dumas, he fought on the Contender Series, I believe. Was his last fight. Let's just double check that. Yeah, and he won by guillotine choke in the first round. It was really quick. He actually looked really good. He rocked the guy with the right hand. Got a body lock takedown, like closed in for a takedown. Got a nice body lock takedown. I watched this fight of his as well. He's got really good takedowns. He's pretty good on the feet. Like pretty technical. I was pretty impressed with him overall. Looked pretty good. Even though he hasn't really fought like tough competition up until like probably this guy. This would be a step up probably for him. This guy has fought some tough competition, so this was a pretty good fight for him. That's why he went to the decision on that one. So he looked pretty good. He just looked pretty well rounded. Like he had a really nice body lock takedown. His striking was really nice, and yeah, his grappling was pretty decent as well. So pretty well rounded. He was very sharp, like very snappy with his strikes. So looked good. Josh Fremd's very long. He fights long. Throws a lot of teeps to the body. A lot of jabs, a lot of like fights very long. He looked pretty good. He actually won this first round against Trishan Gore, and then for some reason he shot like a takedown, left his neck out, and got caught with this guillotine choke, which put him to sleep. It was really tight. Anthony Hernandez kind of just kind of mauled him. But yeah, so he has lost his first 2 fights in the UFC. Based on what I've seen, I will pick Sedriques Dumas in this one. I think he, if he wants to, he'll probably touch him up a little bit on the feet. He might get hit a little bit on the feet as well, but I think he'll be able to close the distance and probably beat Josh Fremd. So for that one, I will pick Sedriques Dumas. Okay. So then we have Raphael Assuncao versus Davey Grant. So this one, I think a lot of people probably write Raphael Assuncao out because he is older. I believe he's 39 or 40 at this point. He did just win against Victor Henry, who's probably in his like mid-30s. Victor Henry, that was his second fight in the UFC. He beat Raoni Barcelos, who's a beast. If anybody knows who that is. So Victor Henry, that was actually, I thought Victor Henry was going to win this fight, and he actually looked really good. He was really patient, counter striking, like just he looked really good. I wasn't 100% sold on Victor Henry winning because I didn't see him fight anybody other than Raoni Barcelos, but he actually pulled it off. Before that, he was on a 4-fight losing streak. All the really good guys, Sandhagen went to the decision with in 2019. Garbrandt got knocked out. Ricky Simone, who's really good. So he lost to really good guys. Davey Grant is a beast. He's a bigger bantamweight. He's definitely he'll be bigger than Assuncao for sure. Taller and thicker. He probably would, I assume this guy probably cuts at least 30 pounds to make 135. He's a big guy. So gets a lot of knockouts, some decisions, but he's got really powerful hands. Like he's really more of a striker for sure. He does have good grappling as well, but he loses more to grappling as well. If that makes sense. But he went to decision with Marlon Vera, lost to him. Beat Johnathan Martinez, who's a beast, also fighting on this card. And he beat Louis Smoka recently, and that was a really good fight as well. So for this one here, I'm going to edge towards Davey Grant. I think he's just gonna be a little bit too powerful for Assuncao. But I won't be surprised if Assuncao ends up pulling this off too. Like, okay, so then we have Carlston Harris versus Abubakar Nurmagomedov. So this is Khabib's cousin. So Carlston Harris, he just lost to Shavkat Rakhmonov, who's a savage, undefeated fighter. He actually looked pretty good. Like he was actually holding up pretty good in this fight until he got hook kicked in the face, like a spinning heel kick to the head. And then he got ground and pound, like completely knocked out. Before that, though, he was on a 5-fight win streak, 2 of those being in the UFC, to Christian Aguilera by Anaconda and Impa Kansaganai. He looked good in this fight, crushed him. So Abubakar Nurmagomedov, I know he's Khabib's cousin. He's pretty good, but he has a few losses. He lost to David Zawada 2 fights ago, by triangle choke, and he was also tapped out by rear naked choke. That being said, he is pretty beast. This fighter here was really good. He beat him by decision. But for this one here, I'm actually going to pick Carlston Harris. But I think it will be a competitive fight. Carlston Harris is definitely more of a finisher, and I feel like Nurmagomedov is more of like a patient. He usually goes to decision a lot more. So I think Carlston Harris will get it done. I'm not sure if he'll get a finish, but he'll definitely win the fight, I think. Okay, so then we have Ricardo Ramos versus Austin Lingo. So Austin Lingo, he fought, I believe the guy, he's some Mexican fighter that he fought, I believe. Luis Saldana. So this guy actually, like, in this fight, Luis Saldana had him really hurt. Like, he literally was lighting him up to the body. Like really hurt in the first round. Like it could have been a 10-8 round, but then Austin Lingo kind of brought it back in the second half of the round, just like landing some strikes, which kind of made it not a 10-8 round. But second and third round, this guy here, Austin Lingo, just put the pressure on him. This guy had like cardio for days. I was shocked with the body kicks that he took in the first round, that he was able to still put on a pace like he did in the second and third round, and he just wanted it more. And he seen that this guy was gassing, and he stepped on the pedal, which a lot of guys usually don't do. The fact that he did that, like this guy is like super durable, super conditioned. So I think he has that to his advantage, and I have a feeling that's a big part of why he's 9-1. He's still good, like technically, he was good at cutting off the ring, but he wasn't nearly as technical as Luis Saldana, if that makes sense. It's just he gassed out after the first round. He had one good round, and then the next 2 rounds he lost. So Ricardo Ramos, I feel like will be a similar fight as Luis Saldana, but I feel like Ricardo Ramos has better cardio than what Luis Saldana had. Had amazing spinning back elbow. If you haven't seen this fight, go watch this. The way he set up his spinning back elbow in that's insane. Before that, he lost to Zubara Tukugov, which was a 3-round fight. Pretty competitive, like it wasn't crazy. Then he beat Bill Algeo. So it's kind of like a loss, win, loss, win. But for this one, I think he'll be able to do enough to beat Austin Lingo, to be honest. But I mean, this guy is a grinder. Technically, Ramos is I feel like way better, but you can never count out a guy that has like grit, heart, and conditioning to go with it. And that's this guy for sure. So I'm gonna pick Ricardo Ramos on that one, guys. Okay, so then we have Tony Gravely versus Victor Henry. This one was really hard for me to pick. Both guys are really good. I like both guys. Victor Henry's one of Josh Barnett's guys. Javi Bashrod is his last fight. Tony Gravely's. So before that, he beat Johnny Munoz Jr. and Simon Oliveira, who's not the greatest. Honestly, this is probably like he might get cut soon. Nate Manis, he lost to. It's a super long bantamweight. I think he tried cutting a flyweight, which was crazy. Yeah, so he's had his wins, he's had his losses. Been in the UFC for quite a while now, since 2019 or 2020. And yeah, so he's fighting Victor Henry. I think this will be a competitive fight. Victor Henry looked really good in his debut and then didn't look as good against Assuncao. That being said, like I was kind of shocked that he beat Barcelos, but then didn't beat Assuncao. For some reason, I thought he would be able to beat Assuncao, but it was close. Like it wasn't crazy, but I'm gonna pick Victor Henry for this one, guys. I think he's might just edge him out a little bit technically. I feel like he'll be a little bit technically better. Gravely will probably be more powerful for sure. Okay, so for that one, I'm gonna pick Victor Henry. And then we have Vitor Petrino versus Anton Turkalj. I think these guys are both making their UFC debut. He fought on Contender Series. Had his hands down a lot when he was fighting this guy. He actually got dropped in the first round from this guy. And then he definitely didn't win the round, but other than that, he was beating the guy up. But he did get dropped in the first round, and then yes, so and then he just landed like this guy kind of got a little aggressive in the second round, missed a big shot, and then got like dropped with a massive hook, and then got like one huge bomb while he was on the ground, got knocked out really bad. So he is undefeated. I mean, he has lost once in amateur, but he's only been fighting since 2017. Anton Turkalj, I think actually he has had one short notice fight in the UFC against a beast in Johnathan Almeida. So Johnathan Almeida, he's pretty much been tapping out everybody with the rear naked choke. Like he's really good at getting people to the ground, tapping them out like that. So Vitor Petrino, so he lost to him, and then he won his fight on Contender Series. This fight here, he was this guy was actually landing some decent strikes as well. This guy actually grappled with Johnathan Almeida and lost in like a decision overtime, which is different. But I was kind of surprised that this guy, Anton Turkalj, he was able to kind of just grind this guy out. This guy's definitely not a striker. That's definitely not his strength. His like strength is definitely trying to grind them, get takedowns. I think he might have had like over 10 takedowns in that fight, and he just grinded the guy out for 3 rounds and won that way. I think Vitor Petrino definitely has the advantage when it comes to striking, and I feel like he should have the advantage when it comes to grappling. The thing is, I don't know if he's going to be able to get Vitor Petrino to the ground because he is a shorter guy who's really stocky and strong. Definitely where this guy was like taller, kind of a little bit easier to take down. Not as thick as Vitor Petrino. But with that being said, I just feel like maybe this one was hard for me to pick too, but I'm gonna go with Anton Turkalj. I think he might surprise some people and really kind of just grind out a decision. I think if it ends early, I feel like Vitor Petrino will win by KO, but I could totally see Anton Turkalj getting a late finish or getting a decision. Okay. So let's go with Tyson Nam and Bruno Silva next. This will be a good one. Flyweight fight. This guy fights at a Henry Cejudo's camp, fight ready in Arizona. And Tyson Nam is a veteran who's been fighting for a long time. Had a really nice knockout win in his last fight, which was to Adi Osborne. It was also, yeah, that's a great win right there. He's pretty good. So lost a split decision to Matt Schnell, is really good. And then beat Jerome Rivera, who's not really well known at all. And then beat this really good striker with a nice knockout too. So he has been getting finishes in his wins. He does have power in his hands, clearly. For a flyweight, he gets finishes. So same with Bruno Silva. I think he's on a 2-fight win streak, and I think he actually finished people by KO. Yeah, so he knocked out JP Bays and then Victor Rodriguez as well. Lost to these two guys that are really good. Definitely longer flyweights, so it's probably a lot to do with the reach. Might have given him some issues. Tyson Nam, I feel, is a crafty veteran. I think he'll get it done. I don't know if he'll be able to knock him out, because I think Bruno Silva definitely will be a little quicker and probably a little smarter, but you never know. He could still get the knockout. But for that one, I'm going to pick Tyson Nam. Okay. So then Mario Bautista versus Guido Cannetti. This is going to be an interesting fight. Guido Cannetti is 43 years old. It's pretty insane. Mario Bautista is a savage. So I think they're both I think he's on a 4-fight win streak or a 3-fight. And yeah, so he's on a 3-fight win streak. His last loss was to Trevin Jones in 2021. Beat Jay Perrin. Brian Kelleher is really good by rear naked choke. And then Benito Lopez. He looked really good in this fight. His striking looked awesome. He was going to the head with his hands, to the body with his hands, finishing with low kicks, then mixing up his hands with his takedowns. And he got a really nice takedown. And then on the ground, he just completely dominated Benito Lopez, slowly, like really methodically transitioned from half guard to full mount to a reverse triangle, and then was elbowing him in the head and finished him with an armbar. It was really nice with like 10 seconds left in the round. So he looked really good, looked really sharp, looked in amazing shape. Guido Cannetti, even though he's 43, he looked in phenomenal shape his last 2 fights as well. It's pretty impressive at 43 he could do this. I mean, these guys aren't as well known, but still, it was still very impressive. He literally crushed this guy here, Randy Costa. Very impressive. So I'm gonna pick Mario Bautista on this one, though. He will be a little bit too much for Guido Cannetti. I truly believe that. I think he's really good, but I think it'd be pretty crazy if this guy could pull that off. I'm wondering if he's going to be an underdog. I'll definitely be looking into that, see if he's a huge underdog, see how much he is an underdog, because he is good, that's for sure, even though he is 43. Okay, so then we have Said Nurmagomedov versus Johnathan Martinez. So this one here, Said Nurmagomedov definitely he loves the guillotine choke. Loves, like, he's definitely a good grappler. Johnathan Martinez, definitely a striker for sure. Really good striker, really hard kicks. So, I mean, he is a good striker as well. Like, did finish Ricardo Ramos with a body kick and punches. Left hook to ground and pound Mark Striegel, Cody Stamen guillotine choke. I found in this fight he was definitely falling in love with that guillotine choke. He tried for it in the first round. It was deep, but this guy got out. Went to decision with Douglas Silva de Andrade, who's really good. Then lost to Roundy Barcelos. So I do think if Johnathan Martinez can keep this fight on the feet, so he's on a 4-fight win streak, and Johnathan Martinez, I believe, is on a 4-fight win streak as well. Yes, he is. So beat a guy here undefeated. Alejandro Perez, Vincent Morales, and just finished Cub Swanson with leg kicks. I feel like if Johnathan Martinez can keep this fight on the feet, I can see him winning a decision. I think Nurmagomedov's tough enough to go to decision with him. Nurmagomedov, I feel like he'll have to make this a grappling match in order to win this fight. So I'm going to pick Johnathan Martinez on that one. Okay. So then we have JJ Aldrich versus Ariane Lipski. So JJ Aldrich, good striker, good movement, pretty good takedown defense. Ariane Lipski is, I believe, more of a striker, but she is like 1-3 in her last 4 fights. Lost to Priscilla Carrera. She got crushed in this fight. I watched this one. Lost to Antonina Shevchenko and Montana De La Rosa. So, I mean, she has gotten finished out of her 3 out of her last 4. JJ Aldridge, I believe, just lost to Erin Blanchfield, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that was her last fight. And then she was on a 3-fight win streak before that. For this one here, I'm going to have to go with JJ Aldridge, guys. I think she's going to be definitely better than Ariane Lipski. So I'm going to pick JJ Aldridge. Okay. So then we have Lucas Brezski versus Carl Williams. So Carl Williams making his debut, I believe. I think he fought on the Contender Series. He looked pretty good. He hasn't fought a lot of guys with a lot of experience. The one guy he did fight with a lot of experience, he lost by triangle choke in the first round. Only been fighting since 2019, so not a long time, only 4 years. So not the most experienced guy, even though he has had a lot of fights in that time. So we have Jimmy Lawson, who he fought. This guy 4-1. He did look good in this fight. He is a smaller heavy, like he's tall, but he's very thin for a heavyweight. He's not a very thick guy. Not always a bad thing, but this guy here, he's fighting is very similar build, tall, not as big for a heavyweight. Like I said, they're tall, but they're not like thick. This guy here, I feel like, has fought guys with more experience and beaten them. So, starting out, not really, but in these last few fights, he has. And then he fought this guy, Martin Boudet, and went to a split decision with him, which I think's a pretty good. I think that's a pretty good indicator of where he was at or where he's at technically. So for this one here, I'm going to pick Lucas Brezski. Hope I'm saying his name right. It's got like a Z in it and everything. Okay. So then let's go to the next fight. And it's saying that these are prelims here, but if we went to the UFC website or to UFC through Google, I bet you it would actually there's got to be some fights here that are main card. I wouldn't be surprised if they put like these 2 on the main card or these 2 on the main card, to be honest. Okay. So then we have Mahmoud Meradov versus Abis Magomedov. So Mahmoud Meradov, I think he's on a 2-fight losing streak by decisions to really good guys. Well, no, actually lost to Gerald Mearshart by rear naked choke, who's a good grappler. And then he lost to Cal Barallo by decision, is really good. So before that, he was on a 3-fight win streak in the UFC, a decision, and 2 finishes. So we got Abis Magomedov, who his last fight he dominated. It was quick. I think it was like under a minute. He upkicked Dustin Stolfus in the face. It was only 20 seconds. It was really quick. Literally came in, upkicked him in the face, and like landed a few punches. Like rocked him right away with the upkick, and then finished him off quick. It looked really good. For this one here, I'm gonna pick Abis Magomedov. I see him getting it done. it'll definitely be a tougher fight than, or it'll be a tougher, stylistically, a tougher matchup than his last fight against Dustin Stolfus. So, but I do pick Abus Magomedov to win that. Okay, so then we have the co-main event, Alexander Yolkov versus Alexander Romanov. So Alexander Yolkov's definitely more of a striker, 100%, like striker through and through. Alexander Romanov, definitely more of a grappler. I think he just lost his last fight to Marcin Tybura, who, yeah, by decision. Before that, he was undefeated. He was 16-0. So he did crush everybody else on the ground before that. If you can get him down, I think yeah, if you can get down Yolkov will be in trouble. But that being said, Yolkov is very long, very tall. I think he's like 6'7" or something. And let's see here. Yeah, he's 6'7", very tall, very good striker. Just knocked out Jairzinho Rosenstruck, who's a beast. Lost to Tom Aspinall. So like perfect example, like Tom Aspinall actually like landed some nice shots on the feet, but then got him on the ground, got on top and tapped him out in the first round. Like he's definitely not strong on the ground, especially compared to this guy. But with that being said, his striking is really good. So I do feel like if he uses his jab, uses his teeps really selectively, like hides them behind his punches to where he's not easily able to be taken down, I feel like Alexander Yolkov should get it done. I feel like if he can hurt him to the body with one of those teeps, I feel like it could be a short night for Alexander Romanov. If it goes the other way, I feel like it'll be a short night for Alexander Yolkov if he gets taken to the ground. So I'm gonna pick Alexander Yolkov in this fight, guys. I could see him getting a knockout for sure. If not, I could see Alexander Romanov getting a finish. Either way, I'd be kind of shocked if this fight makes it to the decision. I really would. So then we have the main event, Petr Yan versus Merab Dvalishvilli. So Merab's last fight was against Jose Aldo, a 3-round decision. Not the most exciting fight. Fought him really smart, put him against the cage, just kind of grinded him out. Where Petr Yan is coming on off a 2-fight losing streak, a split decision loss to Aljamain Sterling, and a loss to Sean O'Malley by split decision, which I actually thought he won that fight. So in my eyes, I think he's actually, technically, I would look at that as a win. I scored that fight for him. Some people might disagree, but I definitely, from what I've heard and from the people that I talked to, people thought Petr Yan won that fight. So I would have him actually on like a 1-fight win streak. But with that being said, Sean O'Malley did way better than what I thought he was going to do in that fight. It was way more competitive. It was a close fight for sure. He had his moments. I just think Petr Yan had more of them. So Merab is a different style for sure. Sean O'Malley is definitely more of a striker. Merab is more of a grinder, great cardio. His first 5-round fight, so this will be interesting to see how he does in the 5-round fight. So yeah, this was a tough one for me to pick because Petr Yan's definitely gonna have the striking advantage. When he fought Jose Aldo was very tentative. You could tell he was worried about getting taken down. Like it's like he's so good at stopping takedowns. It's like he didn't want to overcommit to his strikes and then get taken down. And like just because he's like I think it becomes a part of your identity at that point. You're so used to stopping takedowns that you don't actually play your game of striking sometimes because you know if you can overcommit, you could get taken down. So it seemed like that's kind of what he was doing in that fight. And Merab was just able to honestly like stand in front of him, kind of just calf kick him a little bit. Aldo defended a lot of his strikes, to be honest. Didn't really land anything flush on Aldo. But he kind of put him against the fence, kneed his leg a bunch, eked out a decision. and he wasn't even tired after. Like he just grinded him. And yeah, so it's a 5 round fight. It'll be interesting to see. Peter Yan has pretty good cardio. Hasn't really been known to be someone that gasses either. This is a tough one. I've went back and forth with this one. For some reason, I feel like Merab will just pull it out. For some reason, I'm having that feeling. But I want to pick Peter Yan because I feel like if he actually like puts it on Merab, strikes. The problem is if you start going too hard, like being too aggressive with your striking, will he be able to stop Merab's takedowns? And that's where I can see Merab having a lot of success. And Merab's just a machine. That's why his nickname is the Machine. I could see him taking him down at least a couple times during this fight because I think Peter Yan will be more aggressive than Jose Aldo. So I am going to give Merab a decision win for this one, but I will not be surprised either way. I would not bet on this fight. It'd be a hard one for me to bet on, to be honest, just because they have so many ways that they could each win. So, but I will pick Merab Dvalishvilli for this fight. And then now I will pick my fight of the night prediction. So let me look here. Let me know what you guys think here. Fight of the night. I think I am going to have to pick. I don't think this will be fight of the night for some reason. Probably because his last fight with Aldo wasn't the most exciting fight. I don't really see him in the most exciting fights. I do think Victor Henry versus Tony Gravely could have potential, but they also fight very technically as well. I think Ricardo Ramos versus Austin Lingo could be a fight of the night. This guy comes in brawling, and this guy is very beast, or it can be a very short night for Austin Lingo. So I'm gonna pick Ricardo Ramos versus Austin Lingo. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and if you haven't done so yet, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching, guys.